Welcome to Diversity Xtra with your host, Don McKneely.
And hello, everybody. I'm Don McKneely, and thank you so much for joining us here on Diversity Xtra. And my guest today is Mr. Fred Moses. Fred is the owner, president, and CEO of Telecom Electric Supply Company. Fred, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, Don, and appreciate being here.
Absolutely. Before we get started, I want to share with our audience a bit about your background, Fred, so they'll kind of understand some of the things that you've done. Fred is the owner and president, CEO of Telecom Electric Supply Company since 1985. It's a 33-year-old company. And he had finance operations success at General Electric Supply Company for 11 years. Fred is involved in a number of different things. He's currently a trustee for Collin College of Collin County, and he's the founder and president emeritus of the Plano Community Forum. Fred is also past commissioner for the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulations. He's a past county chair of the Collin County Republican Party. He's a past chairman of the board of the Plano Chamber, past chairman of the board of the Plano Economic Development Board, and he's a past chairman of the board of the Plano Community Home. Fred has received a number of awards. Particularly, he was awarded the Tom Landry Leadership Award by the Dallas Baptist University, and was awarded the Living Legend Award by Collin County Community College. Fred's education covers a graduate degree from the University of Bridgeport with a BA in marketing, and also Housatonic Community College with an associate science in business management. Again, Fred, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, Don, and appreciate the whole time to come and talk about our background and history, and what a blessing and a journey it's been.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, speaking of the background, Fred, can you talk a bit about your previous experiences before starting your company, Telecom Electric?
Yes, Don. I worked for a great company, General Electric, for 11 years, and in their financial management, and had a great career with them. And but during that journey, I actually saw in the 80s, in particular, some of the work that has been done by Black Enterprise and maybe Johnson Publishing Company, talking about minorities getting involved in business. And I had a inkling, and I had a unrestness in being in corporate America. So I decided that, I had a good career with General Electric, and if I wanted to probably move around with them, I would have to move away from them. I was in the Dallas area, moved here in 1980, and enjoyed this community, and it was a great community for families and businesses. And so I really wanted to stay here. So as a result of that, my wife and I made a commitment that, after I'd been there with them a long time, that I would try and go into business for myself. And I was early encouraged that encouraged me by reading about what was happening in minority business, Black Enterprise magazines, and probably Johnson Publishing Companies, about what African Americans were doing.
So tell me, Fred, if you would, maybe talk about some of the early years in your business, some of the early startup experience that you maybe faced. How difficult was it to start your business early on?
Well, a journey, and so apparently amazing what sometimes we get involved in stuff and we don't always understand, and that's probably a good thing. But what happened is I saw that my company, General Electric Supply Company, they were getting involved in telecommunications at the time, and trying to provide support and products to that as AT&T was being broken up at the time. from being a monopoly to having other companies the opportunity to provide their services. And so General Electric was doing that, and as they were doing that, I thought I saw an opportunity to leave them and work as an agent for them. And so initially, that's what I did. And they were, I had a great career with them, but they were great support when I got ready to leave. And that I was gracious enough they allowed me to be a rep for them for a while as I transitioned out to being a business owner myself for the first year. And so that's kind of how I got involved in that process.
So that made a lot of difference in terms of your early years. Is having a company like GE that supported your work and that also maybe provided some mentoring to some degree.
Mentoring to some degree, and also they were very as at the time also there was a great push to try and get minorities involved in industry and business, and they were supportive of that. And so as I became a rep for them for telecommunications, there was opportunity came about where they were involved with projects, and they saw an opportunity to work with me as a former employee, but more so as a business owner now, to partner with me and help me take advantage of some of the minority business development that was taking place, and it was a great support, great help those first couple of years.
Fred, as we talk about business ownership, we've often heard that many times there's always defining moments in a business that really has made the difference in terms of what one might say success and failure, if you will. Not being successful. Can you think of maybe the defining moment or anything that really made the difference in the success that you've become today, or even in the early years, something that made the difference that gave you the ability to continue on and this type of thing?
I think there's two events that took place, and Don, after I was in business for about a year and a half. I was really, running low on cash and ability to finance my business, because in those early years, there's not many resources of banks and anybody. They knew me as a person in a community in the business, but they didn't know my business, and so I didn't have access to capital. So as I ran short on funds the first couple of years, I had a couple of good friends, a couple of good, they're just good people, and they were in business and I was in business. And so when I ran short on capital, it wasn't a lot of money at the time. Maybe it's $5,000 I needed, or $10,000, and those guys, those businesses, those friends of mine stepped up. And they said, "Hey, Fred, now we'll make the money available to you."
Sure.
And so that was a big help. It wasn't a lot of money I needed, but it was a big help, and it made a big difference in terms of me staying in business and operating and not having to worry about that. And that got me over the hump. It didn't take a lot, but just that little thing. That was one. And then another defining moment is when I was in business about 2 or 3 years, and then trying to break into industry and maybe utilities and that business area. And so I had I had a background in finance, but didn't have a background in business. But then there was the man come along from one of the utilities in the area, and he saw something in me, and he said, "Hey, he partnered with me. He got one of his best clients, his best suppliers that was similar in the same business I was." And he said he brought that guy over to my office and sat down with me and said, "Hey, man, I want you to teach this guy how to do business with us in the utility industry." And that was a pretty extraordinary. Can't say enough what that meant. And wow, for somebody like that reaching out to a little guy like me that didn't have much experience, didn't know how to do business, but he said, "Hey, teach that guy."
Absolutely,
minute.
absolutely.
Yes.
Well, definitely a defining moment,
Yes.
right, Fred?
Right,
You know,
definitely a couple of defining moments.
Couple of defining moments.
That's right. Of what made a big
it makes all the difference, doesn't it?
all the difference in the world.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right. Well, Fred, let's talk about some of the organizations and things that that you've been involved with over the years. I know there's an organization locally called the Dallas-Fort Worth Minority Supplier Development Council. So you're a member of that organization, I believe.
Okay.
And how long have you been involved with that?
I've been a part of that business. One of the things, a couple of things that I've done when I got in business is I really wanted to make sure that I was really serious about being in business. So I joined my local chamber and I joined the Minority Business Development Council. And we've been in business 33, 34 years, but we've been involved in those organizations for 33, 34 years.
Ever since? Huh?
Ever since that time, and it's been a pretty extraordinary. And the local chamber was helpful in trying to, as I got developed to work with businesses that was in that chamber, they kind of helped me identify and define my business in terms of, initially I was Fred Moses Enterprise, and he said they and I talked to some guys in the chamber. He said, Fred, that doesn't spell anything about what you're trying to do. You better get a name that kind of defines your business. And so another defining moment. So as a result of just getting to know those guys that were in the local chamber, and them giving me that critical feedback that got me started on how to redefine my name, and that's why we came up with the Telecom Electric Supply Company. After visiting with them. But in the other part about is the Minority Business Development Council has been involved with them with 33 years. They were very welcoming, very encouraging to try and get businesses like us in the early days involved in business deals. And initially I was in business a few months, and there was a big deal going on here. And they took me in their wings and introduced me to the players, the people that are important to that deal. And I was involved. I got initially. That's how I got involved in my first big deal.
Through the council.
Through the council.
Oh,
through
okay.
the council.
Okay.
And so as a result of that, and the guys that were at the time was Elliot Stephen was the executive director. He wasn't there that long, but it really was very, very, very encouraging to me. Very supportive for him to bring together the people that were trying to do business with minority companies at the time, and introducing me and trying and helping me. The networking was pretty powerful, and over the years I found that. So that's why. And sometimes I think what happens is those of us that get involved in these businesses, that we just go and pay our money and we think that things will magically happen. But you have to be involved in the groups.
Yeah.
I was involved in networking and when I looked my local chamber, and then I was involved in the Minority Business Council, and it pays tremendous dividends to be at the table, go to the networking event, go to the golfing outing events, and all of that kind of builds credibility, builds your reputation for not just being very serious. And I was serious. And then when we were serious and at business and serious and hungry.
Sure.
And that's what, I was trying to the driving force, but trying, who I was. And after leaving corporate world, been very blessed that, we've had some success, and we've not had to look back. And the enzyme, the energy to try and do that is to every day have my head down, trying to how do you find success? How do you and then the thing have little milestones. My first milestone was the try and when I got 5 pieces of mail at my mailbox with my company name on it. We celebrated that.
Very exciting.
Huh? And then when I first was able to hire somebody away from a corporate company,
Right.
Those are things that we celebrate,
Exactly.
But Don, those are things that kind of propel you and say, wow, maybe I am serious. Maybe this is real.
That's right.
That I could be successful at this.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Right.
So Fred, if I'm a minority business owner and I'm looking to start a new business, So would you suggest that I join the Minority Business Development Council? Would that be a beneficial thing to do?
Oh, I would very. Yeah, they have some great resources and great support that they provide, and if you're a minority business and you want to be successful, and especially in this Dallas area, because people don't know you, and you have to. The business in this area is about relationships, and you better be trying to help. How do people know you? Who are you? And so they don't know you when you come around. But also, I think the other part, they have great resources. Whether it's they have the programs that talk to you about how to do business with corporate America, how to do business, how to grow your business. Those are all great resources, and you could whether it's what they do is they get you in the minority business council also they have the minority business development agency within there, so it's another resource, a great resource that businesses like ours, that minority businesses, need to take advantage of. And these are all resources to help you try and be successful. What do you need to do to be successful? And we need to be working about that in our businesses. How do we be successful?
Fred, I know that the Minority Business Council has a program that's called certification. And so what the Minority Business Council does is certify minority businesses as being minority owned. And so being certified, has that made a difference in your business? Can you tell when you talk to a prospective customer and let them know that you're certified, or they know that you're certified as minority-owned business? Does that seem to make a difference?
Oh, I think it does make a difference, and over the years, what I've been very supportive of is that, and then what I've said to people external and outside of my company is that because who we are as a businesses and how we define ourselves as a minority businesses, we value the certification process, because we think anybody can come in and examine us and tell who the owners are and identify those. And over the years, been great to have my wife and I as a business supporters, but also to define that legally, and also the opportunities to if companies are trying to reach out to the businesses like ours, or reach out to the minority businesses, then they could be certified. They can be confident that they're dealing with those credible businesses that are that represent themselves in the marketplace to be who they are, and that's also important, because I think what more so important, as these companies try to do business with certified minority businesses, they want to try and give back to communities and develop those, and I think all of those resources, all those requirements help to identify us and help us to grow our businesses, but also put growth back in the communities that need it so desperate. Our minority communities.
As you talk about the community, you just mentioned that a couple of times, and so and I know that you've been very involved in the community over the years. How important is it to be involved in the community, to give back? What does that say about you and your business?
I think it says a lot, Don. Don, we have in our businesses we have four strategic. Over the years we have four strategic partners we think are in our business. We start with our customers. We go with our suppliers. We go with our employees, but also the community. We think that's a real key in terms of who we are and what we're trying to represent in the community. Because as we've been successful, we want to go to the community. When we've need employees over the years, we've employed people for the community. We've also been trying to be very successful in trying to give back to those communities when they needed help of contributions or support. And so we think that that's important that they have because they're doing very important work, Don. And so if we're going to be a healthy and viable community, it's got to be all the players. You got about everybody at the table, and that's including our organizations that are providing the resources that we're not providing, but they're the front line doing that. And so we need to be partners with them and help them do that.
Well, Fred, as we talk about the community and involvement, as part of your success journey, as mentioned early on, you were chairman of the board for the Plano Chamber of Commerce and then chairman of the Collin County Republican Party. What were some of the things you learned from those leadership roles, if you will?
What I learned from the leadership roles is, business and politics has a very close tie, and so I don't think sometimes those of us in minority businesses realize that we need to be connected politically, and also we need to be as business owners, we need to be active, and because really in terms of developing the community or the resources for the community, they work hand in hand in terms of whether it's talking about regulations that don't overburden you, or whether we're talking about taxes that don't, we all make money. We want to pay our fair share, but we don't want to pay too much. But more importantly, as our communities grow and they're developing, business and we need to be have a connection. We need to work hand in hand in terms of as more wealth is developed in the community. We need to make sure that the businesses like ours, minority businesses, are players in that, and that has always been the case. And then by being involved as a business owner in politics, you can know the right people, the stakeholders, and we can make sure that our concerns are heard. And the best way to do that is be involved with them and make sure that they know who you are, and you know who they are, and what role they do, and then ask them, and then tell them what issues are important to us in terms about, that you want to be viable, we want to participate in the wealth and all this great wealth that's taking place in Dallas and these areas. We need to be a part of that as growing our businesses and giving back to the community.
So basically, politics and business are good bedfellows.
They're good bedfellows. They really are, Don, and they really are. They go hand in hand, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
we don't think enough of as business people, and we really need to be. And that's why it's important, Don. I've been involved in, I've ran for office and to as a business owner, but most of all as a good person. But we need good people serving. And we need business people serving because our voices need to be heard. We need minority people serving because there are issues that are important to our community that if we're not at the table, Don, they're not going to be considered. And so it's really important for us to be involved in the total process.
Absolutely, absolutely. Fred, so as we talk about minority business, what do you see maybe as the biggest challenge for minority-owned business today? Any thoughts around that? Yeah,
I think the biggest challenge is, and as people like myself, as I've been around this 30-plus years, and now I'm bringing on my son, who is involved in the business, and he's getting, run the day-to-day operation. I think what we see is happening. We see a lot of technology happening, and what our businesses, minority businesses, need to be involved in the technology. Whether it's technologies in running our businesses and office and services, but also technologies in terms of what's being marketed in the marketplace. And there's a great program now by MBA, the Minority Business Development Agencies. They're going around the country now. Calling Infocom or something to that degree. But what they're doing now is they're trying to, in the minority communities, and they have 5 cities that they've gone to, and they've taken the federal agencies, and especially the federal lab agencies that have new technology, and they're trying to make sure that minority businesses know about the technology because it's really going to have a tremendous impact on our future, and we need to be taking advantage of what those technologies will be, and what the resources will be, and what those labs will be, and we need to be taking advantage of. That's the challenge that we have. The have is that we need to be reaching out and taking advantage of the new technology and resources that are coming available in our world.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Fred, as we talk about minority-owned business, we talk about the marketplace. What does the climate seem to be like today for minority-owned businesses? Is this a good climate, or is there ever a good climate?
I think the climate is, we talk about whether, I think the climate is a positive climate, a positive climate if you're focusing on trying to get work done, and you have to be focused on. I think the climate is that that we have to be looking for opportunities where we can be successful and where we can build wealth. We need to be about that. We need to be about focusing in on, as they talk about new technology, talk about resources being offered in the community. We need to figure out what's our role and where can we be effective, and be players in those fields. And the focal point need to be I think if we come to the table with a value proposition, we come to the table and we're offering a valuable resource, then I think the opportunity for us is great. We're past the time now where we the opportunity to say that we come to the table and we don't know what we're going to offer. We have to come to the table with a plan down, and we have to come to the table with focus and what we're going to offer.
Plan your work and work your plan.
Amen.
Right?
We do, Don.
Yeah,
Don.
absolutely. So, Fred, as we begin to wind down, if there is someone in our listening audience, corporations and customers that would like to do business with Telecom Electric, what is the best way for them to reach you?
Well, the best way, we have our website, which is www.tes85.com is one rate where you can find us on the web, or our local phone number, and we have, because we have a great history, Don. It's not very hard to find us. If you look up us on Google or any of the search engines, and if you look up Telecom Electric Supply Company in Plano, Texas, or TES, you will find us, because we have been available and we have a lot of resources, and we've blessed in the marketplace that a lot of people know us.
Absolutely. Well, Fred, it's certainly been a pleasure to have you on the program today, and we'll look forward to having you back again real soon.
Thank you, Don. Thank you very much.
Thank our audience for joining us today on Diversity Xtra, and we look forward to telling your next story. Have a great day.